reference. It is important. And you might find yourself in a position where you need to find the perfect reference. It's a little bit too specific, a little bit too complicated, maybe, to just scour the internet and find a perfect thing for it. And for me personally, I'm not the best sketcher, I'm not the best doodler. So just making it up, being able to come up with the perfect anatomy, perfect form, and lighting is not really an option for me. So my solution to that was sculpture. And by no means am I an expert in sculpture. Before this year, I had no experience, or very limited experience in it. So if you're looking at these images thinking it's too complicated for you to do, I would say give it a try anyway. I think you'll find that it's a lot easier than you think. But regardless of any quality, I think its usefulness is still apparent. For example, in this painting, the whole body of this serpent-like thing is a very simple shape. It's just a smooth tube. But because it's a smooth tube, it's also a very hard thing to try to make look interesting or realistic. It would be very easy to just make it a smooth surface, a very boring smooth surface. And when I was sculpting it, that is exactly what I was making. But because of the nature of this clay, when you coil it and turn it and manipulate it, it causes little dents and creases within the shape itself, which ultimately is what makes it feel more alive when I come to paint it. Whereas if I just painted it from my mind, either these little details would have never came into my head, or I wouldn't know how to make it look believable. And even if I used reference, I wouldn't know what kind of a reference I would try to find for this. Maybe a snake, but then it would look too snake-like, I would think. Whereas here, it looks exactly how I would want it to, I think. A snake's body isn't necessarily smooth, there's a lot of scales and whatnot. Whereas I wanted this to be, like I said, smooth. I want it to be like a metal, a bronzy gold kind of a metal, which again, the glossiness of this clay really helped with that. And again, all these intricate details, really pretty details, in my opinion, are things that you can get just by rolling the clay. There is no higher level sculpting yet. So there's a lot you can get out of this, even if you're not going to be putting a lot of time into sculpting every little thing about a character that you're making. And even for this specific sculpture, when it did come to sculpting the actual head of this snake thing, I can't say I put that much effort into it neither. There's general shapes, but that's kind of it. Or here, for example, I find it very difficult to get angles correct, even for very simple shapes like rectangles, like here for a window. Again, this is a very, very simple way to do it. I just cut out a window frame, a very simple, ugly window frame, just a rectangle shape. I sculpted a very simple window shelf and a very simple clay leg. To simulate the glass, I realized I had a lantern, a foldable lantern with a glass pane on each side, which gave me a very nice reflection of the foot and the lighting from the inside onto the glass. And the successfulness of how I utilized it is maybe debatable. Um, Still, the reference gave me a lot of really useful information. Now, this next one's a little bit different. I did put a lot of time, a lot of effort into the details of this. If you do find that you're more competent in sculpting than in sketching anatomically correct things, people, or anything, you can use it to sculpt anything. Like I wanted to do a painting of a woman character that I've been sketching here and there, but I didn't want to ask people that I knew to pose for it. I feel it's a little bit awkward to do that. I don't like directing people, and a lot of the people in my life probably wouldn't fit this thing anyway. So I found it useful to just kind of make my own, to make my own person. And although it's not perfect, the arms are a little too short or a little too long. I didn't put that much effort into certain parts of it. For the most part, it did the job. And what I didn't get perfect with this, I fixed with some understanding of drawing. Here is an example of something I'm working on right now. This is something that is not finished yet, but this is what I'm working with. It's a character lifting up his dress. There's going to be pools of blood everywhere. He's trying to get the dress away from it. I wanted it to be from kind of this downward angle like you see in this picture. And again, if I had to do this just with with my pencil, if I had to like sketch this idea out fully, I don't think I'd be able to do that one bit. Most everything that I've done just from my mind and a very limited amount of reference is very simple and maybe a little bit boring. I still like it, but yeah. But yeah, that's basically it. I guess I would say get Monster Clay. That's the one I use. I'm sure there's better ones out there or cheaper ones, but I think this is already a cheaper version of a better version, so I'm not sure. I use Monster Clay. I use the medium hardness for the most part. Um, I have a very hard one as well, just for the warmer months because it it's a heat based thing, or it's an oil based one, right? But it reacts to heat, it softens with heat. So when it's really hot outside, it's really hard to keep the medium one from just kind of melting and falling apart. But if you get yourself a medium one, that's probably the perfect one. I would imagine the soft one is a little bit too soft. But yeah, just that's that.